There was a weird time in video game history where in the 2000s it seems like everything got its own video game, and paintball was no different. The popularity of first-person shooters was rising, and it seemed like paintball could fit right in being a family-friendly alternative to all the blood and violence. There were several paintball games that hit the market, but none with more impact than Greg Hastings' Tournament Paintball. So I played every Greg Hastings paintball game known to man to figure out what makes this franchise the highest regarded paintball game series of all time. But who the heck is Greg Hastings? With names like John Madden, Tony Hawk, and Tiger Woods gracing the covers of video game series for a long time, a name like Greg Hastings should carry some weight in his industry. Well, Greg was born and raised in New Jersey and joined the Navy, where he became a submarine sonar technician. While he was in the Navy, he was introduced to paintball in the late 80s, where he developed a passion for it and eventually was able to go pro in the late 90s and early 2000s with teams like Bob Long's Ironman and most notably Excessive. Now, being a professional paintball player is no easy task, but when you compare Greg to the other players of the time that are considered to be some of the best, I don't think that he's held up to the same standard as people like Oliver Lang and Crystal Soya. So what made Greg so special to get his name on a video game franchise? And that's because Greg at his core is an entrepreneur. He started the company Reds in the early 2000s, which was a reputable paintball company from the time. And while Greg took his hobby of paintball and made it into a profession, he also had some other hobbies like breakdancing and video games. He was a big gamer before gamers were gaming like gamers are gaming today.
I'm literally a pro level gamer. Heard a Defender, I turned that over.
Nice.
1 million points went into free space. Now I'm totally nerding out right now.
Greg, having this entrepreneur mindset, decided that he wanted to combine two of his hobbies together and create a paintball video game. And he was able to get it funded with one exception.
And in front of all my other investors, literally said, I'm not going to invest 1 penny unless your name is on the cover and you are on the cover of the game.
And on November 16th, 2004, we got Greg Hastings' Tournament Paintball on the Xbox. The game was developed by The Whole Experience and published by Activision. Yeah, that's right, the same Activision that published Call of Duty, Guitar Hero, and the Destiny franchise. The game's mechanics included everything you could expect from a paintball game. You could do everything from running, diving, switching hands, leaning, and reloading. It gave you the entire paintball experience, even the cheating. Yeah, you had a cheat meter allowing you to wipe hits. It included real paintball teams, sponsors, and fields to play on. It featured real players who were some of the biggest at the time, like Crystal Soya, Oliver Lang, Maddie Marshall, Rich Telford, Alex Frazier, and more. The single player experience had 19 different tournaments to play, 98 different field layouts, and you could play against 69 real different teams. And you could do this all while gaining experience points and leveling up from rookie all the way to pro. All your teammate options from rookie to pro were actual players. As you move along the single player, you unlock real gear like jerseys, loaders, barrels, and markers. There was also an online multiplayer where you could play up to 7-on-7 in 20 different locations on 179 field layouts. The game had surprising success, with selling over 200,000 copies. The game got a 74 on Metacritic, which is the highest rated paintball game on Metacritic. IGN gave it a 7.8 and said, a unique brand of first-person shooter and sport game. It's more enjoyable in some ways than other online sports titles, with solid controls and addictive gameplay. I think there's a very definitive reason why this game kickstarted a franchise, and that's because it was just incredible. From the soundtracks, game mechanics, gear, playable characters, I really love this game. I can only imagine booting up this game back in the day and playing it for hours on end. Oh my god, I pulled off a 106! The variation in maps kept things from getting stale, as you could constantly see new layouts playing in career mode, and you do it all in iconic tournaments like Huntington Beach against great teams of the day. All the gear, field, players, and sponsors being real truly made it an immersive experience. The sound design was excellent, with the sound effects when you hit players and the narrator talking gave it such a unique feeling.
1 for 1.
Your team was skunked.
I appreciate Greg for including important female players and teams into the game to show the inclusiveness of paintball even at the time. And the soundtrack being curated and one of the most unique ones that I've ever seen in a video game, it truly gave you that feel of playing paintball back in the day. And the other thing I was feeling while playing this game was comfortable, and that was because of the chair I was sitting in. So this entire video I've been sitting in the same chair, and that's the Ewin's Racing Gaming Chair. Ewin sent me this chair to review. Ewin makes premium gaming chairs. This right here is the Ewin Flash XL series chair. I have to say I sat in it for long hours playing these games and editing this video, and never once did I feel uncomfortable. When Ewin sent me the chair, the biggest thing I was worried about was how long it would take for me to assemble the chair. But they made everything super simple with a 12-step assembly guide and everything you need to put the chair together labeled and included. It took me less than 30 minutes to put the entire chair together, which says a lot. Some of the design features I noticed while putting the chair together are noteworthy. There's adjustable armrests and magnetic padding, so you can adjust it to your desk height and your arm length. They have adjustable lumbar support so you can move it around so that your back's comfortable while you're sitting. The padding itself is super sturdy and comfortable, which I'm a big fan of, and the biggest feature that I liked is the magnetic headrest made from memory foam. The magnet makes it super easy to adjust the padding to fit your head regardless of your height, and the Flash XL series is a heavy duty line, so it can hold up to 500 pounds. Also, I noticed the small details like the leather they use, as well as the stitching into the chair itself and the colors that you can choose from. I did the black with the blue accents. I really enjoy. For previous chairs that I've had in the past, I had discomfort from sitting for long periods of time, but from sitting in this chair for hours and hours playing video games and then editing right after, I have to say I haven't felt any discomfort at all, which is a big plus. And yes, gaming chairs are proven to make you play better at video games. Thank you to Ewan for sending me this chair to review. It's made sitting down and playing all of these games for long periods of times and making this video a lot more easier and comfortable. Greg Hastings' Tournament Paintball was able to capture the essence of paintball in that era, but just a year later, they would take that experience to the max. Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball Max was released on October 18th, 2005, with the same developer and publisher in Activision. The game was released on Xbox, PlayStation 2, Game Boy Advance, and Nintendo DS. The game remained like the original, with added features being Breakout Manager and Create a Field. The Breakout Manager allowed you to send your teammates to certain bunkers on the field before the match started, and Create a Field allowed you to customize fields and play on them. Exhibition Mode was added in to allow you to simply play matches with custom created teams. You could handpick players and create your own team, or play as iconic teams of the era and play whenever you wanted to without the need of another player. Now you can make callouts on the field in the game, like telling your players to run forward or what bunkers the other team is at, adding one more element to the game mechanics. They also added 10 more tournaments, making 29 in total, and added 12 more paintball guns. They added new characters as well as some celebrities that were paintball enthusiasts, like Be Real from Cypress Hill and DJ Lethal from Limp Bizkit. The soundtrack also had some more music added from Be Real and DJ Lethal, which added a new vibe. They even have Danny Trejo in here serving responders to kids on the street in the intro video. The game received a 69 on Metacritic, and while the average score was lower than the previous one, it did receive more praise from certain reviews. Team Xbox gave it an 84 and said an improvement over the original Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball Max is sure to impress devout FPS fans. So I played every version of this game. The console versions were great, with nearly the same game mechanics as the previous game, just some slight refinements to make it better. The new soundtracks, fields, gears, and players all added to the overall experience and made me look forward to more. While the console versions were only improving on an already good foundation, the Nintendo DS version was doing the exact opposite. The game starts off decent, the intro video and soundtrack are great, and I can see myself as a 9-year-old loving opening this up and just listening to this on repeat. The game has a career mode where you follow Will as he starts his paintball career after mastering kayaking and snowboarding. The game has some same features from the console version, like the ability to upgrade your character's stats, real tournaments, real teammates, a 6-song soundtrack, and gear upgrade options of jerseys and guns. Everything is great on the surface until you dive in. The game really suffered from not having analog sticks like the console version. The directional pad moves your player around the field, and the face buttons allows you to do things like switch hands, sprint, and dive. The shoulder buttons were to lean and shoot, and you would use the touchpad to aim, reload, and change levels. And let me tell you this, the number of inputs you had to do just to play this game was astronomical. From moving with the directional pad, switching hands with the X, leaning with the left bumper, aiming with the stylus, and then shooting with the right bumper, it felt like I was trying to make gang signs with my hands while playing this game.
What you banging, shorty, on BD Ramrod?
The worst part about all the mechanics of the game was the touchscreen. If you weren't careful enough, you'd find yourself reloading out in the open because your Dorito-laced gamer fingers just went a smidge too high while trying to aim your gun. I was unsure about the game. I didn't know if it was bad or if it was just my unexperienced hands trying to play a Nintendo DS game after so many years. But after reading multiple reviews like this IGN one, I realized it wasn't me. And if the Nintendo DS version was bad, the Game Boy Advance version made it look like a masterpiece. No man should ever be subjective to trying to beat the Game Boy Advance version of Greg Hastings Maxed. The graphics are pretty good for the time, but that's where it ends. The game controls are abysmal. If you ever wanted to be like Drake and go from 0 to 100 real quick, play this game for 30 minutes. Bro, I can't win.
You guys make me sick to my stomachs, fam. Honestly, if you guys want to look in my eyes, you guys want to do something? You guys, that's what I thought. No. That's what I thought.
The controls were super tanky, with the up and down arrows controlling the forward and backward motions and the left and right buttons controlling where you look and aim. It still had similar mechanics with switching hands, leaning, and the iconic cheating mechanic. The game has the same 3 songs on repeat, so regardless of where you're at, you're just going to hear the same music over and over again. And if the repetitive music and hard tanky controls wasn't enough to make your head hurt, how about another challenge? no teammates. The game gives you no teammates ever. You just have to win 1-on-4 matches to win tournaments. It makes the game just a nightmare for any child who ever booted up this game on their street-like lit Game Boy Advance. Luckily, the game was only about 2 hours long, so the suffering didn't last forever. But if you thought we were done there, we've still got 3 more games to go. And 5 years later, we would get the long-awaited sequel. Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball 2 was released on September 21st, 2010 for the Xbox 360, PS3, and the Wii. The game was developed by Super X Studios and published by Majesco. Majesco was also responsible for publishing some very notable games like the Bomberman games on GameCube and Game Boy Advance, and Psychonauts on the Xbox and PS2. The game was developed in a new engine that added to the graphics and the gameplay. New gameplay mechanics like specific callouts to attack, defend, hold, and push were added.
Dana, turn around, Dana. Shoot at the other team.
The improvements that this game made on the previous one is that it had an updated campaign with altering weather, new fields, new game modes, and different tournament formats like Speedball, Woodsball, and Wreckball. There was a new in-depth field builder that was improved on the last one. There was now over 1,000 real playable characters from rookie all the way to professional.
2 Asias and Nick are just nothing without Nick.
There was all new gear added, 62 new fields, and they also added 10-on-10 player online matches. The game also included videos of iconic paintball matches and market reviews by the popular paintball YouTuber TechPB. The game was released to mixed reviews with it sitting at a 46 on Metacritic. GamePro gave it a 50, saying Greg Hastings Paintball 2 is made for a very specific clientele, but because the video game lacks the excitement of the real thing, does little to expand interest for the sport outside of the core demographic. The game itself runs better and feels better to play compared to its predecessors. The added field builder was nice. The additions of real players is great. Being able to see familiar faces you know and actually play with those people, I think is something that is unique to only this video game. And Billy really carried the Willy Whackers on his back. But there's a lack of personality in the game and it makes it a drag to play. There's no more iconic soundtracks, so it's just generic music added and it makes it feel lifeless. The game mechanics and controls are hard to use, and just for one example, the slide and the crouch button are the same, so I constantly found myself sliding out of cover. The AI is bad on both ends. I just see players on both teams flying up the field and doing this.
I want this guy. Yeah, we're gonna trade for Caesar. I swear to God, Caesar. Oh, jeez. Dude, Caesar is playing the wrong side of his bunker. Caesar!
The career mode is a drag because it costs money to do anything from get new gear, train players, to even picking up new players that you've already unlocked.
$2,000 to get a D3 player, bro.
What the hell is even that?
The sound design made me feel like I was stuck in a hell of Guitar Hero menu screen sounds that were turned up to max volume.
Jesus Christ.
Some of the game modes I never came back to because the sounds in them made me want to throw my headset out a window. This game is really where we saw the end of video games being released physically onto consoles, as we never saw another one after this one. And I'd like to know from you in the comments, what was your favorite paintball video game that you ever played? With me being relatively new to the sport, I never played any of these, so going back and playing these feels super nostalgic. Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball 2 released to some pretty poor reviews, and it'd be the last paintball game we'd see on consoles. But that didn't stop Greg from pushing out a few more games. In 2013, we'd see Fields of Battle come out. It was initially released on iOS in July of 2013 for free and developed and published by Super X Studios. The game eventually went to Android in November of that year and came to Steam with VR support in September of 2017. I played the Steam version, and this game resembled the second entry in the series a lot. The same mechanics were in here, like the movement and gameplay. This was an online focused game, so there was no more career mode. Here you can select through several rotating tournaments with a different number of opponents, modes, and objectives on different fields around the world. The game runs on 2 types of currencies. First, the silver coins. You get this from shooting opponents and winning tournaments. You can spend it on gear, outfits, paint, and entering other tournaments. The other currency is gold coins, and you get these through in-game purchases. You can purchase gear, outfits, and paint grenades with the gold coins. As you enter tournaments, your scores, kills, and kill streaks are all listed on a leaderboard where you can compare yourself with other players. You level up as you play more tournaments that lets you unlock more gear and outfits. The game saw a large amount of success on platforms with over 1 million downloads in the first few weeks of release, and the game is currently sitting at a 4.3 rating on iOS and a 4.1 rating on Android with over 5 million downloads. The game is an exact copy of Greg Hastings 2. The game does control better on PC with the ability to change key bindings. Some of the maps are new and larger. I'm a big fan of the Towers map, but past that, there's not much more redeeming qualities. The game has the same mundane soundtrack and same sound designs as the second game, with those awful hit markers and objective capture sounds. Most of the gear and outfits are recycled from the second game, and the AI is just as bad as before.
I mean, it's just crawling out in the open. And he got me.
The entire currency of the game isn't bad, but it's restricting, as most of the iconic and memorable paintball gear is behind a gold currency, which you must buy with actual money. The leveling is consistent, but you unlock everything when you reach level 25, so there isn't that much incentive to play past that. The rotating maps are cool, but if the map isn't rotation that you want to play, you just have to sit and wait. This makes sense to keep the player base together, but now with the game being dead, it's rough just to play the same map for several hours. This game came out to great reception in the mobile community, but with the context of the other games, it just kind of feels like a mobile port of the second game in an effort to capitalize on the mobile gaming craze of the time. And like I said, it had over 5 million downloads on Android, and with that hype, it sparked a sequel that we got in 2022.
Cover me, I'm going in.
Fields of Battle 2 would be released on November 8th of 2022 by Super X Studios for Android and iOS. The game is very similar to Fields of Battle with some slight upgrades. The game uses AI to generate custom skins, and when I put in my name, this is what I got. The biggest feature here is that the game now has an in-depth field builder, which it gives to you as the first thing when you boot up the game. Here you can purchase bunkers and build fields that you want. After you're done building the field, you can play on it and allow others to play and rate the field. The game controls are actually decent for mobile. You move your character around the field and also crouch, slide, and dive with the left side of the screen, and when you touch the right side of the screen, you aim, shoot, and zoom in and out. You can also lean by either using the left side of your screen or actually tilting your phone with gyro controls. And when you want to play, you have 3 options. You can choose field challenges, where you play on fields created by other players. You can also do tournaments, where you play matches on other fields for leaderboard placings, and lastly, you can play rec ball, where you can just play matches on optional fields. The game still has the same leaderboard as before, where you can see how you did in matches after online play. The gear is almost the same as the previous 2 games. They also have some added new characters that you can play as, or you can just choose that beautiful looking character they built for you. The game also runs on the same currency as the previous game, so silver coins are earned through playing and gold coins are purchased. The game actually is sitting at a 4.3 on iOS, but a 3.8 on Android, where it has over 50,000 downloads. The game controls somewhat decent in my opinion, but I don't play mobile games, so I have no clue. I do like building layouts and playing on them. The ability to play other people's layouts and rate them after is also another nice addition, and probably makes it easier on developers not having to constantly build more maps. Some of these layouts actually have some time and effort put into them and are really awesome to play. The feature to shoot full auto by simply tapping the screen twice and holding it makes it way easier to play on mobile. I do enjoy the gyro controls of the ability to just tilt your phone to lean out of your bunker. This makes it slightly easier to manage all those controls without making my head hurt. Surprisingly, I have a lot of good things to say about this game, but equally, I do have bad things. The sound design is still bad. The sound effects just make my head hurt. And the AI is the same since 2010. They're very clueless, and the only thing that's changed is that they have better aim, so you die more now. The AI in the first game in 2004 is better than this AI in 2022. The gear is all the same as the previous games with a few new items, and for the game being released in 2002, it's missing a large amount of gear from the time, making it feel super dated. The leveling is much slower. It makes it a grinder and much slower to unlock gear. The game feels like a reskinned version of the first Fields of Battle with a few added features like the field builder. And for a game being released in 2022, I know it's a mobile game, but it just feels like it's missing a lot. And while the later releases of the Greg Hastings games feel like they kind of lost their way, the strong start of the series cemented itself in the nostalgia of a generation that was based in an era of paintball when the sport could be seen on ESPN, in magazines, and on DVDs and Blockbuster. I think the original Greg Hastings tournament paintball game is an excellent example of what it was like to experience paintball in that day. The music, players, fields, and gear all transport me to a time that many call the golden era of paintball. Following the recession in 2008, paintball took a hit, and so did the games that followed it. Luckily, we're starting to see a resurgence in the interest in paintball. Millions of views on videos, more events happening than ever, and record-breaking attendance at paintball tournaments have all been signs of the sport growing. And another sign is the video games we're getting. Games like Snapshot VR and Infinite Paintball are games with loyal player bases on PC, and a new game, Paintballers, being announced for Steam, PS5, and the Xbox Series, looks to finally bring that paintball experience experience back to console. Greg's constant pursuit to push out video games has entertained millions for many years and inspired so many to try this awesome sport. I have so much respect for Greg and everything he's done for the sport and his constant effort to bring us forms of paintball that we can actively engage with on the couch. Greg did announce that the third game in the Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball series was in development, but that was back in 2013 and has been pretty quiet since then. So who knows, maybe one day we'll be surprised by the third game in this beloved series, but all we can do until then is wait. And like the video so your calves grow. Bye.